Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Horton. Dear Andrew Parker, dear Alex Younger, dear Dr. Bruno Kahl, and dear Mr. Mystery, whoever the head of the NDB is here in Switzerland. I'm addressing you again in my sixth public appeal to you to cease and desist the attacks against me, which are highly coordinated. They are using modern technology, and now more and more I come to realize also modern nanotech or medical tech that is inside my body, as far as I can tell. What you're doing is essentially demolishing our Western society. Over the last couple of months, I have witnessed on my own body what your weapon system is capable of. Since I went public on the Richie Allen show at the start of December, I have been inundated with reports from other victims. And many of them have sent me detailed evidence, medical documents, scans, reports from doctors, many, many other things, certifying the abuse. And all of them report offenses virtually identical to mine. The only difference is that some of these victims have had more done to them over their time of their abuse than I had so far time to actually experience. But what is just overwhelmingly obvious is that the intelligence agencies have for decades had a free-for-all. They have run a premeditated mutilation program at the service of what must be the pharma and the weapons industry, or just at the service of sexual predilections of rich men. What I have now come to learn absolutely disgusts me, and I only have one question to you, gentlemen. How on earth could you all have become so fucking degenerate? All of you. What you're doing and what your agencies have done is way past just dereliction of duty. From what I have seen and from what I have experienced, it amounts to crimes against humanity, and therefore, as far as the leadership is concerned, it also amounts to high treason. It's high treason to all the democracies that we have. It's treasonous towards every single fundamental principle that we ever cherished in our democracies. Everything that the rule of law is based on has been systematically violated by your degenerate agents, as much as these women, children, and men have also been systematically violated by the very same degenerates. Now a situation has arisen where literally thousands and thousands of women are being mutilated, and yes, some men as well. That's right. But I keep emphasizing the sex ratio because from that alone it is absolutely blindingly obvious that it has nothing to do with national security. It doesn't even have anything to do with human experimentation. It matches war crimes and sexual violence down to the letter. And that's what it is. We have a situation whereby our, what we thought, proud men in the intelligence agencies, the military and so-called military intelligence have done is essentially just live out their utter degeneracy with impunity. And I ask you all, how on earth could you have become so degenerate? And this question to you also applies to every other intelligence agency and head of intelligence agency anywhere in the world, and the heads of the police as well. How on earth can you have all become so degenerate? Have you all been groomed just on the basis that you're pedophiles, that you can have a control file on yourself? Is that your top qualification? That you sleep with children for fun? Is that it? Because that would explain what I'm seeing. I get these desperate reports from women who are begging for help, who are being systematically turned on. We all, and that includes me, had essentially a concentration camp erected around us by your degenerate gang stalkers, by your absolutely degenerate special branch types, who then shoot into us with this military technology. Really, is that the pinnacle of our arms industry, that they found new weapons with which degenerate, wanky old farms can just mutilate a woman with relish and impunity? Is that it? Are there any sort of secret contracts that redefine the statutory duty of the intelligence agencies away from fighting terrorism and focusing on the organization of pedophile rings and the systematic mutilation of women? Because if there is, it would explain a lot. It would explain what we're seeing here, what I have witnessed over and over. I'm desperately trying to help women, most of whom have been mutilated even harder and tortured even more ferociously and animalistically than I have so far. And the theme is always the same. It is always rich people who get them on the list, rich and powerful people, and then they are mutilated to pieces and sometimes to death by essentially the goon squad run by your degenerate agencies. Have you men no shame? Is your biggest aspiration to pull equal with the Gestapo? Because if it is, it explains a lot, and I congratulate you on having actually achieved that goal before your retirement. Well done to all of you. You degenerate, worthless men. I am sickened by the fact that I have to literally rake my brain to find a way to somehow help and protect a woman who's at the mercy of what's termed these days a super soldier, who is utterly psychotic, and as far as I can tell is essentially a serial killer, which of course is a tautology given the term. But now, this super soldier has turned on his own community and essentially has become a super dickhead. That's what the US Army managed to produce. Super dickheads producing super liabilities for the US government. Because this guy is running AWOL. And the very military who trained him is incapable of stopping this nut job. What the fuck has become of you men? Have you all been just reared on estrogen and fucking children? Or how on earth can you all become quite so degenerate? Because admittedly that is the case from the US, but it mirrors exactly what I have heard from Germany, from France, from Switzerland, from the UK, everywhere. From Poland, it's the same over and over, utterly degenerate men living out their worthless, absolutely pathetic sexual fantasies on defenseless women. Is that it? Is that what MI5, 6 and the BND and the NDB stand for these days, and the CIA? Is that it? The CIA being the central intercourse agency, organizing the serial fucking and mutilation for degenerates. Because if that's how it is, suddenly it all makes sense. But ask yourself, is that what we are going to stand for in the 21st century? Do you want your children to grow up and then on the internet find within a few seconds what their fathers actually managed to achieve in their lifetime, which is drug running, child trafficking, and the human trafficking of defenseless women and men being shot to pieces just because a business competitor wants their intellectual, property. Is that it? Is that the best you guys can do, Mr. Andrew Parker, Mr. Alex Younger, Dr. Bruno Carl, and whoever the fuck runs the NDB? I have appealed to you over and over, and I've received nothing but mockery from you degenerates. How the fuck could you have become quite so worthless? Mr. Andrew Parker, you, for example, went to Cambridge. What happened? What happened? What derailed you from your top-class education, which I'm told is at least on par with Oxford? Or at least so I'm told. I would stretch the joke further, however I'm painfully aware that, for example, Sir John Scarlett went to Morons College, Oxford. What the fuck happened to you degenerate men? Have you all been literally taken up the rear as children? Have you all had your spine broken at an early age that you cannot stand up for your own fucking country and your own women? How the fuck can you all be so blindingly stupid? You've been roped in to execute the controlled demolition of your own societies, you morons. And there you are, jeering at me as I'm trying to actually turn the wheel around. Have you all lost your fucking marbles? I have asked you all now repeatedly to stop, at least just stop the attacks against me, because they are now public. Instead, they have just ramped up. Just the last few weeks, I basically had a series of assassination attempts. Coming down from the Serpentine on Davos, I was shot in the head every single time with a hard electromagnetic pulse before every single turn, trying to get me off the road and down the abyss. Have you all fucking lost your mind? And the fact that before the scene I just passed a parked military police vehicle, a Swiss military police vehicle, just after, literally days before I begged them to stop the assaults against me. Is that fucking coincidence? In the moment, I'm sorry I couldn't actually tell if the shots were fired from the car behind me, which is what I thought, or if it was actually placed down electromagnetic sniper guns, and these people had a training round for their little degenerate trainee goons. It's hard to tell when you're a victim, and you're just trying to get your car safely down the mountain. But how the fuck can it be that I keep experiencing this? How the fuck can it be that my head is still being shot to pieces as I speak now from the neighbors who I've identified clearly several times over? Now, the newest entertainment in this total brain-fucked brain mapping that you lot are said to be doing by whistleblowers, the newest amusement for your degenerates to vibrate my arm. And that was very interesting, because it started off with just a slight vibration in my left hand, which arose after very hard irradiation to the right-hand side of my skull as I begged the German ambassador to get on the case and stop the mutilations against me. But instead of Dr. Otolanta doing anything what the hellsoever, mirroring one-to-one the behavior of the German ambassador in the Colonia Dignidad case, instead he just watched as I pleaded for help. As I keep saying, Michael Kanzler at the gate of the German embassy already to my face confirmed that my assessment that I'm being shot at with electromagnetic weapons through the BND were